All right, welcome back. Okay, gentlemen, let's go straight into the program. Our first story today. 4-year students attack BC Fayemi's convoy. Some students of the Federal University Oyo Ekiti have attacked the convoy of wife of the Ekiti State Governor, Mrs. BC Fayemi, who was on the tour of council areas in the state. The students reportedly barricaded the Oyo-Ifaki-Ikole Abuja highway to prevent the convoy from passing, with the view to venting their anger over poor power supply in the town. The protesters vandalized some vehicles in her convoy, and no fewer than 2 persons have reportedly died in the protest. A source said the governor's wife was whisked away from the scene in a commando-like manner, while others in her convoy scampered to safety. Other people, including journalists in Mrs. Fayemi's convoy, were injured in the attack. The protesters also burnt down a police van and seized 2 rifles from policemen. All right, gentlemen, here we are.
Ah, man, this is a criminal act. In all ramification. As much as the constitution of this country really allow people to protest, but at the same time, you must not dampen upon the rights of another person, because if you do, your right stops there,
of course,
and the right of the
other
person continues from that particular. One thing there is what they are even protesting on. They are protesting against the power supply, which is general, which is affecting everybody in all the 36 states, including FCT Abuja, and at the same time, the person in question is the wrong person. The wife of the governor of Ekiti State. It is not political appointee. In fact, in the constitution and the edict of that state does not recognize her at all. Does not recognize her as anything.
So she's just a civilian like you and I, an ordinary citizen.
Somebody that does not have anything that has to do with constitution. Then another thing again is this: by the time you say you are protesting against a particular thing, and you are now damaging other person's property, and you are killing life, allegedly killing lives in that manner,
then it becomes something else.
There is a criminal case, and this is the kind of thing that our security agencies, if a protest is going on, you don't have the right to stop them, but you have the right to protect them
and ensure
that they don't dampen or injure another person in the process.
Because of that.
Assuming they are there and they are real attack. But the problem we always have is that our security agents, we know, especially Nigerian police, we know they are not enough. We don't have up to 500,000 Nigerian police officers in this country, and how can they man over so-called 200 million Nigerians? So at least they're supposed to be at the right place at the right time.
All right, Mr. Shokpito.
Well, I mean, it's the illogicality of the whole incident, starting from the protest itself. The protest doesn't make sense. Then the actions that they took, you know, they are protesting against poor power supply on campus. I mean, hello, are you living in another universe, another planet? This is Nigeria. Power supply is our problem. So that's not to say it's good and they shouldn't protest against it, but channel it correctly to the right party.
Sorry, let me butt in. Talking about channeling, you know, their anger, shouldn't it be towards the school authorities? Because I know schools always have a way of providing power, you know, within the campuses.
If the student union leaders were thinking leaders, what they will do is to go to the authorities, not by protest, but to suggest ideas on how they can get increased power supply from BEDC, you know, rather than going on a wanton, you know, rage of destruction. However, I think it's also important to say that government needs to pay attention to these little pockets of irrationalities and illogicalities. Why would Nigerians kill Nigerians? Because South Africans are killing South Africans. It's illogical. Government needs to pay attention to these things. It's saying something, and we need to listen.
Let's quickly go and look at the video clip to the protest. We'll be back.
Some students of the Federal University of Ekiti have attacked the convoy of wife of the Ekiti State Governor, Mrs. BC Fayemi. The students reportedly barricaded the Oye-Ikole Abuja highway to prevent the convoy from passing, with a view to venting their anger over poor power supply in the town.
Even though it was reported that 2 people died in that protest, the police command has come out to say that no lives were lost. Moving on, federal government begins evacuation today. Atmosphere tense in South Africa. The Nigerian Union South Africa yesterday said though some calm had been restored in South Africa, there was still tension in the air. Several foreign-owned businesses had remained closed for fear of resurgent attacks by South Africans. South African businesses, however, have opened, but the foreign-owned businesses are yet to open. Most of these businesses have been looted and burnt, so they need to start rebuilding. On the evacuation of Nigerians, the High Commission and Consulate had given a figure of about 640 people who are scheduled to return, adding that the first batch of about 320 people would leave today at about 9 a.m. Other Nigerians who had opted to remain in South Africa were scared of more attacks, but are getting assurances of safety from the South African authorities.
Well, anytime you look at these stories coming from South Africa on xenophobic attack, you always think that the way their citizens are taking it, that the foreigners should leave. If they leave, did they ever think that what has happened to the economy? And let me tell you one thing, the economy now, what they are doing now is that they are just doing some camouflage South African economy axe problem. Immediately Zuma left. That was a big vacuum in some certain areas. So, but now, what Nigerians should be taught, those people that have nothing to worry about in South Africa, that they don't have a big businesses, they can easily come back to Nigeria for a while if the country is better and they have a legal way of going back, they will go back. And those ones in South Africa that have a lot of businesses, it's going to be very, very hard for someone that have invested over millions of dollars in South Africa and you want him to come back here,
just like that.
No, it's not going to be possible. But one thing there is this is the kind of thing that when you have a very good social program on ground, I think those people come in, social program will take care of them. Because those people, even in the country, have they been well taken care of? Talk about some people coming from another country, coming back to their own country here. Is there a social program on ground that will cater for them? All
right, before I hear Mr. Shopiton's input, let's go and listen to Olusegun Obasanjo's take on the happenings in South Africa.
And I mean that. I will make a sample of a few. Look, it doesn't matter what we may say. South Africa is one of the most developed countries in Africa. And South Africa will continue to be one of the leaders of Africa as a country. If any country which is the leader or one of the leaders of Africa cannot accommodate other Africans on their soil, then they don't deserve to be leader.
Mr. Shopiton.
Chief Obasanjo is a very vocal elder statesman. I usually don't agree with him, but on this occasion, you know, I mean, it's spoken absolute truth and makes absolute sense. I think the only thing that I would like to add to all of this is, on the one hand, our government reacted slowly, and that resulted in some of the violence that we saw here. But then, since then, and with all of the suggestions from the Nigerian polity and all that, I think they've responded fairly well enough, you know, engaging air peace to bring people back home, sending an envoy, all of those things. But I think they still need to do more, because I think that the South African government, if you listen to all the messages that have been coming out of all of the officials of that government, they are xenophobic. The country itself is promoting xenophobia just by their statements. And it is time that the Nigerian government is very unequivocal and very resolute in its position. Africa needs to talk to the leaders, not the country. To the leaders, to Ramaphosa, the president, to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to the police security infrastructure. The things that they say promotes and emboldens the frustrated poverty-stricken South African who is really being misguided and used by the politicians. It's time that the government of South Africa stood up and did the right thing. They need to be careful.
How about the African Union?
They need to be careful, yes, because I think that if not, at the rate they're going, they are liable to being charged with some sort of crime against humanity, because they're promoting these things and people are being killed. So I think our government needs to do more in terms of a stronger response, where whether they accept it or not, whether we
also need
citizens,
to tighten, you know, some of our laws or whatever, you know, concerning our trade businesses with South Africa. You know, I don't want to use the word punitive as a punitive measure, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So we need to go that route as well.
From the beginning, every business, that's why you see that America, United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, before they have any deal with you, or they have their nationals coming to your country to come and have businesses, it's going to be watertight. So this is in fact, this is an moment for us. In fact, it's an opening for us that we should try much as possible. Whenever we are going to have we have large numbers of Nigerians that are doing businesses, the government needs to carry those people along, and at the same time needs to protect them with the kind of trade and the union they are going to have with that particular country, so that this kind of thing. And on the issue of the South African government, starting from the president Ramaphosa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ministers of Home Affairs in that country, they are not even helping matters.
They all have come out to
Nigeria. That's why Nigeria as a country needs to fight South Africa in 3 ways. One, they have to fight them politically. As I am concerned, we are talking about ECOWAS now is synonymous to Nigeria. If you are talking of African Union today, it's still synonymous to Nigeria. There is a way we can co-opt all that countries that have nationality in South Africa, that we want to shun trade with them, and at the same time, they should charge them. They should charge them. They can't be killing our fellow citizens in their country. After all, we have some South Africans, irrespective of the numbers. They have businesses here. They are free. Look at the way Nigerian police really secured all the properties of South African businesses in Nigeria. Even till now, they are still. You get to a federal shop, right? You will see police all around, even SSS all around, in order to protect their properties and their citizens. How can they not replicate in their own country?
Okay, you want to add anything to that?
I just like to add that Nigerian government, our president needs to his posture needs to be a bit more adversarial. There's a bit too much chumminess between. I mean, they're not showing that there's a brotherliness between South Africa and Nigeria, and we shouldn't be extending that. Now I understand that the president is scheduled to visit South Africa in October to go and do what? This is not a time for state visits. Is it? We're pretty much in a diplomatic route, and it should be, you know,
handled
emphasized as such.
Okay, all right. But with all of this going on, trust Nigerians to always find a funny angle, you know, to everything. A particular video has been making the trends on social media. Is actually an actor, Yoruba actor, Baba Jebu, who did this one. I hope I got the name correctly, but this one is quite funny. It's still on the issue of South Africa. I hope you catch the joke. We'll be right back.
South Africa 500, South Africa 500, 500, South Africa. South Africa, Miami, South Africa 500, Singapore, South Africa 500, South Africa 500. South Africa 500, Opasia 1,000, South Africa 500. South Africa, my sister, I gave you up at the family, you know, South Africa 500, Mama, South Africa 500. Xenophobia! Xenophobia! South Africa 500. South Africa for you, South Africa, my brother. South Africa, on your little loss.
All right, welcome back from that one. We have a reaction here to the Firemis convoy attack, and it's from Pius. He says, good afternoon to you all. Tell the government of our country that we are sitting on a time bomb, because every street that you go, you drive around, you will see boys sitting down and smoking, doing nothing. I need the government officials to do something concerning this, because tomorrow may be too late to control this. All right, let's move it along. Court orders final forfeiture of Diezani's $40 million jewelry. The Federal High Court in Lagos yesterday ordered the permanent forfeiture of 2,149 pieces of jewelry and a customized gold iPhone valued at $40 million recovered from the Abuja home of former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Diezani Alison Madueke. In a ruling by Justice Nicholas Owebo through her lawyer Awakalo, the judge said they failed to show cause why the items should not be permanently forfeited to the federal government. The EFCC had in July this year seized the luxury items which it believes are proceeds from unlawful activities. The anti-graft agency told the courts that the items were beyond Madueke's legitimate means. All right.
Well, this is one of the judgments that for anti-corruption fight is a plus, because ordinarily a situation in which you have somebody that have property, and this one should go to all politicians and business owners, or all those people that are having, they cannot defend. If you have any proceeds that have the linkage with corruption, or you have property that if EFCC could come to you and ask you to explain how you get the property and you cannot explain that, then they can take you to court, charge you on that, and make that particular seized property to be forfeited. Because in the EFCC Act 2004, as amended in 2010, really give the agency power that they don't supposed to have any tip from anybody if they know that you have a lifestyle, you have properties that you cannot defend based on your earnings over years, then that such particular property can be seized from you. They can charge you to court, and they can also seize for forfeiture of it. Okay. So Madueke, for somebody of her age, I'm very sure she's not up to 60, and let's now assume she started working by 20, and by the time you accumulated all those amounts and the worth of all these particular jewelries, you know that there are a lot of answers that cannot be given, and it's a plus to anti-corruption drive. All right, Mr. Shopiton.
I think this should be celebrated.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because not particularly because of the personality involved. I really don't care. But I think, like you said, this society has got to get to the point where people are accountable for their wealth. Okay. It's very important. It's a fundamental value that we've lost now. So right now what you have is a situation where somebody just gets an appointment or whatever. Sometimes it's not an appointment, but you just see that some guy beside you, some neighbor beside you, suddenly starts showing affluence. Somebody that you knew was pushing his car 2 months or 3 months ago, then all of a sudden you see him driving a 215 Mercedes-Benz, maybe GL or something. You should ask questions. So if you, of course, you can't approach him to talk to him, but I believe firmly that if this society is going to work, then you have the duty to report that to the security agencies. Oh, there's this guy, I don't know what's going on, but he's suddenly shown some sort of, and then they have a duty to investigate. And this ruling has shown now, look, Diezani has not been convicted of anything right now.
Okay.
So the forfeiture is based on the fact that her lawyer could not prove that she got those things
came about
from legal income.
Exactly. How much are we even talking about in naira?
I mean, that's
about 14.5 billion
naira.
Or jewelry is
so for me, that's very important. It's that the EFCC.
So this is quite symbolic in the fight against corruption.
It's a symbolic victory. It's a victory for a value we need to adopt. Okay. That you should be accountable for your wealth. You can't just get rich and start spending money and everybody will celebrate you. That has to stop.
Okay. Wow. You want
and in addition, that this should not be only on the Diezani alone, must come around the politicians, those that are still serving, those that have served, those that are still staffed, the business owners, because all these things must be in all ramifications. We should not pinpoint anybody. There are a lot of people around. There are so many. Within 2 years, you see them leaving school. Before you know it, they can hold billions of naira property within 2 years. Which kind of lucrative job can be done with it? And at the same time, for you that are hardworking, you want to get your money through legitimate means, then you are going to look as if you are not even working. And that is the thing. They should make sure that all politicians, business owners, whatever they have, they must be able to be accountable. They must be able to account for everything. They must be accountable, and that is what is important.
Accountability. Okay, let's move it along quickly. Buhari versus Atiku. Judgment Day arrives today. The much expected and awaited judgment from the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, of course, will be announcing its decision today. Well, the PDP says Nigerians are now anxiously looking up to the judiciary to have the courage to do justice because they have proven their case, while the ruling party expressed optimism that the tribunal will uphold President Muhammadu Buhari his victory at the poll. Gentlemen,
well,
long-awaited day
with the way we are monitoring the tribunal from about 5 minutes past 9, we are.
When you say weak, you be explicit.
Because I know a lot of Nigerians, and this is the first time you are going to see a presidential election tribunal that will be on television, on radio, and you see a kind of tweet giving you update on what is happening. A particular newspaper really dedicated a point. Even my own medium, I have to dedicate a part of point to be updating people what is happening at every time. In fact, it has been a very buoyant tribunal, ranging from the certificate saga, how every candidate is eligible, and at the same time talks about all the wrongs. For instance, now part of what has been revealed, it has revealed who is qualified for election. Then the area of the role of security agencies, the one they played in the last presidential election, and at the same time the role of Carida was also put even to test, and at the same time the role of INEC in all encompasses, did they follow the electoral act, was the constitutional followed, then at the same time how were the results moved from the ward down to the LG, everything has been expunged and it's already being, but the highlights of what has happened at the tribunal today is of 3 areas. The first one is that the judges really revealed and really affirmed that somebody that is not contesting an election, you cannot use that basis of that person to disqualify or affirm a particular election. It's a case of security agencies. Okay. So a situation in which you have soldiers, you have police, maybe they are misbehaving or allegedly doing well during an election, you cannot staple upon that to really accuse the incumbent or other party of using them because they don't have a stand in the electoral act. Okay, let me listen to Mr. Shokutan for a minute.
I think it's been a very interesting, 2-3 months since the elections and since this started. Apart from the lull, the slight lull in activities when Justice Bolkachawa's legitimacy on the panel was contested by the PDP, things have moved pretty swiftly, and I think the judiciary must be commended. I think they've handled this case. I think so. I think they've handled this case pretty well. Okay. As far as the outcome is concerned, to be honest, like Mr. Adegbero said, there are 2 sides to this. One is we need to thank Alhaji Atiku for going to court, because what that has done is that it has put the electoral process under the searchlight of the law, not just the process itself now, but the legality of the things that happen. So the judiciary is compelled and forced now to make pronouncements that will form a basis for future elections. So the issues of card reader, the issue of the role of the security agencies and all that, the court will have to make a pronouncement because all of those things are being challenged. Okay. But having said that, INEC. Yes, exactly. But having said that, based on and I've said this right from during the elections till after, based on reports of independent observers, and those reports have been very detailed. If you ask me to predict the outcome, I think that there will be, nobody would expect any other outcome but that Atiku's case will be dismissed, because I hope that's not sub judice. because for me, what the law says is that the electoral process must comply substantially, not completely. So obviously there were irregularities. We all witnessed it. We all observed and all of that. And there will always be, even in America, till tomorrow. We are seeing what is going on in the UK now. Yes. Okay. So that's why the law says substantial compliance. Okay. But besides that, I think we've just gone on a legal, academic legal journey that is useful for the development of our democracy. Beyond that, nothing much is going to come out of this.
Wow, interesting. Anyways, just to bring us up to speed, security has been beefed up within the vicinity of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which is the venue of the tribunal, and also security personnel comprising mainly of the police, the DSS and the NSCDC have mounted checks at both ends of the stretch of the road to the court. Lawyers and journalists who arrived at the court premises this morning were subjected to checks by security personnel. Also, social media followers and party faithful and supporters have since adopted 2 hashtags, and there's been some banter back and forth about, what the results will be. There's hashtag Atiku is coming, and also hashtag Atiku busted. Trust Nigerians. Social media can be very interesting in things like this. But then, while Mr. Shokito earlier commended the judiciary, in at least doing this quickly, we need to talk a bit more about how long it really takes to adjudicate, really on election disputes. For example, we recall what happened in Kenya, and all of that. It took 2 weeks from the start to the finish, but it's taking us how long? Next week will be 180 days, it's a bit long.
Country, every country differs because the way we do our own election is different from theirs. In terms of population, you can't compare with us. So automatically, the problems that will be associated with every election is also going to be different. Okay. But in our own case now, there are some certain we use car reader in some cases. There are some places that are not used. So that is a case on its own. Okay. Case of insecurity is a case on its own. Case of forgery is a case on its own. The case of car reader is a case on its own. Even the legitimacy of the candidate is a case on its own. So, but what is important here is this: we should even tag the Electoral Act of 2010. As before then, there is no stipulated time for tribunal. In fact, at times, some people will have finished their tenure, especially the secretary, whatever. They will have finished their tenure before they will now give the judgment. You remember what brought Amechi? When the other man has used like 3 years, and that was it. Look at what happened in Ekiti, the one of Ondo. But thank God that with the kind of thing that we have now, even the one of Court of Appeal, there is stipulated time, unlike before. But one thing that we should be able to do is this: it's not every time in an election we go to court, and it's not every time that we should not go to court, because I believe that going to court will set a very good precedent, and at the same time it's going to deepen our democracy. If you win unlawfully, the court should be there to take you out. Okay. And if you win legally, then the court is there to affirm your position.
Okay.
Well, just very quickly, I think that, the wheels of justice, unfortunately, in Nigeria, grinds very slowly. So, yes. And I think it's within that context that it's taking this long.
How many judges
there are, all the impediments are numerous. So, obviously, it's a completely different conversation. We need a complete overhaul of some of our fundamental systems, including the judiciary. So it's still a long way from the day that we'll have cases adjudicated and completed in 2 weeks.
Digitally. You can't file
because a lot of the things that are being done in courts today are manual.
Yes.
Judges, I mean, I feel sorry for them. I've been in court many times when I'm just looking at the poor guy and I'm like, you know, gosh, I mean, this is ridiculous. You know, so all of that is still there, and until we sort that out, of course, we'll have this slow pace of justice.
Okay. All right, let's quickly look at some feedbacks coming in from viewers. This one is actually begging the president not to go to South Africa. He says he could get killed. A country where there is no security. Please, Mr. President, don't go. Wow, so much love. Anyways, this one says, good afternoon once again. My name is Pius. There is nothing opposition can do for now because who is in power is in power. The only thing our advice is for them to come back in 2020. All right, this one just coming in says, according to one definition of power, if you cannot punish or reward someone, then you don't have power over him. In what way can Nigeria truly punish South Africa? Therefore, South African leadership doesn't have to fear us as we hope. We simply cannot painfully punish them thanks to many years of corruption. Maybe other nations will someday copy them. I am praying they won't. A saying, TM sent that one in. Please stop calling the line. Femi Salami from Ikorodu says absence of strong political institutions in Nigeria gives room for political office holders to loot the nation's treasury. Okay, that woman must be jailed. How can she buy jewelry worth 14.5 billion? Nigeria EFCC should be careful in seizing people's property. We all know that after Buhari's regime, she will come back to claim them. Is it not crazy? 40 million, please. She should be arrested along. Taiwo from Agbado Ijaye. Okay, good morning to you, lady, and the two gentlemen in the studio. I appreciate you all for finding time to come. Therefore, you all have spoken very well. May God be with you people. Sunday from Edo State. Thank you so much, Sunday. Okay, this other one coming in from Harrison says, morally, I think that if South Africans and their leaders are sincerely not supporting the crisis surreptitiously, Ramaphosa should have been the one to visit Abuja and not the other way around, because we are bereaved in all this. Okay, let's read a couple more. Without justice, there will be no peace. But if justice prevails, peace shall be. Gabriel Agege. Good morning. My name is Rita. I'm 17 years old. I want to plead with you to please break down your English to our level.
Which English? Which English?
I don't know. We didn't even speak grammar today. Oh, wow. Next time, Rita, just carry a dictionary, you know, by your side and look up the words. But noted. All right, lastly, Joseph from Ikorodu says, please appeal to the federal government to help us develop an indigenous cable TV that will compete with that multi-choice, so that multi-choice and DSTV will stop holding us to ransom. Thank you, Joseph, and thank you everyone for sending your messages in. All right, quickly in summary, 20 seconds.
Well, my summary will dwell on the Nigerians coming from South Africa. Our hearts is with them. For some of them that are that have lost their loved ones, or some of them that have lost property, some of them that are lost psychologically, they've lost something. We believe that our country will be better, that even if you have to travel for trade outside the country, you'll be well respected. And we pray that our government should try to teach South Africa a very big political lesson they will never forget. All right.
I long for the day when South Africans will come to Nigeria on tourism in their thousands or hundreds of thousands. I long for the day when Kenyans will come to Nigeria to visit Yankari Game Reserve and Ikogosi Warm Springs and go on our beaches to just sunbathe and all that. I long for the day when Americans and British people and Chinese people will come to Nigeria for the massive economic opportunities that are available.
Yeah.
It's not happening now. I long for the day when Nigerians won't have to travel as economic refugees, because that's what majority of Nigerians in South Africa, in Canada, you know, in the United States, people that travel on visiting visas and disappear.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they are. I long for that day, and it's up to you
and I. True.
The citizen and the government.
Thank you so very much, gentlemen. Thank you for coming out today. Mr. Nuruddin Adegbenro, thank you, sir, for coming. Right, Mr. Shopiton Shegun, thank you, sir, for coming on the show today. And thank you, viewers, for being part of it. Okay, the result of the election petition tribunal will be out soon. Whatever the case, please, hashtag Atiku is coming and hashtag Atiku busted. Let us continue to maintain the peace, okay? All right, so that our nation can move forward. All right, I'm going to leave you with this motivational animated video by Chibuzo Mbakwe, aka Chibs. It's actually an inspirational piece for the youth of Nigeria. I hope you get the message. We'll see you tomorrow.